Everybody, hello. We are here with Danielle LaPorte at Mindful, the podcast in Alo Studios. And Danielle is not only an incredible thinker, author, and helper of our hearts. She's also an OG friend of Alo, where we all worked together a long time ago. And I'm like really excited about your new book, and I'm really excited that we get to share.
Hey, I have a podcast question first. Is it like mindful of stuff, or is it mindful, or is it both?
Both.
That's good. I love it.
Thank you. We wanted to have a space where people could get uplifted and ignited by cool people who are doing amazing things in the world, and whether they're in yoga or in music or in basketball. So like when we got to talk to you, this was definitely along those lines of Danielle knows the goods, and a bunch of us 5 years. Okay, so this is your first book in 5 years. And about 5 years ago, when White Hot Truth came out, a lot of us read it. It got to us, and it was something that we talked about, that we learned from, and y'all made us wait a really long time for something else. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited that it's here. Can you tell us a little bit about, before White Hot Truth, you put your Desire Map program on Alo Moves, and how did that happen? Actually, I had nothing to do with that. It was this amazing other part of the team, and it's really neat that it's there.
Desire Map. I remember shooting the course for Alo in a warehouse studio that they turned into like a little faux living room. And yeah, that was really, the seed of all the Desire Map methodology is in the new book, How to Be Loving. So like that question was, how do you want to feel? And that question changed my life, and it became the basis of my career and this whole coaching program that we have. And then I realized it wasn't about desire. And there's a bigger question. Like, you need to ask how you want to feel. It's like, it's the crossroads of waking up. It's part of development. You got to do that, but it's not the end game. And that's how we got to How to Be Loving.
It's so profound, this idea. Okay, wait, this is hopefully going to make you laugh. I was at my car wash this weekend, and I needed to break a 20, and they have like the best card selection. Shout out to Beach City Car Wash on Venice and Lincoln. And I found this card, and I need to show it to you. It has this, like, for those of you who are listening and not watching, it has this kind of like pin-up-y, like vintage looking lady, and she's planting, I don't know, a begonia. And it says
yoga, gardening, meditation, and yet still strangely homicidal. Yeah.
So like, yeah. Okay, so I grabbed this because I needed to break my 20, and also because it made me laugh so hard. I felt like it like captured so much of what the frustration in like trying to be through the things that we do, trying to be in a way that we feel okay, to the nut of your question, how do we want to feel? What happens when you're doing all the right things in your head and you don't feel okay? And this is what the question that I think maybe you're starting to get at, not starting to get at, but really answering in How to Be Loving.
I don't think we are doing all the right things in our head and can feel not okay. So it's like, let me back up. I want to ask you, are we doing all the right things in our head? I don't think so. I think what happens is we get on these paths. It's like, I'm going to be more yoga. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to think more positively. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to do the wellness things. I'm going to do the social activism things. All those things are great. But the question is like, what's motivating it? Is it you showing up to say like, I'm a more spiritual person. I'm a community leader because you want people to think you're a more spiritual person, because you need this kind of degree of attention or affirmation. Like, one thing I say in How to Be Loving is the best place for the ego or the wounded child to hang out is in this self-help space. is in yoga studios, is in personal development workshops, because we all look so great doing it. Like, look, we want to leave the world a better place. We want to be healthy. We want to be hip. We want to be community. All good. But just press pause on all the stuff you're doing. Why? Why? Because you need some validation you didn't get from your family of origin, because you think the spiritual path makes you more worthy of whatever you desire. Like, my relationship used to be like, hey, if I do all this stuff, I'm going to burn enough karma and then I'll finally get what I want. And that's not how it works. How it works is the right thinking is, I'm doing this from my heart. I'm doing this because I feel connected to everybody else, because your happiness matters to me. Your happiness is part of my happiness. So wellness, path, all of that, is it ego-centered? Is it coming from the wound? Or is it coming from heart and real inclusiveness? And that informs what you're thinking.
Something that was interesting to me is when you started addressing how we can feel when we butt up against things we don't like, situations, world situations, situations with people in our life, relationships, other people's reactions. How do you frame this idea of being loving within confrontation of challenge?
Shortcut. There's two shortcuts. One is, okay, so you're in the bind, you're in the argument, you're feeling judged, you're totally being judgy with the other person. It's someone at work, it's your partner, it's your mother-in-law, whoever it is, doesn't matter. And you just stop and think to yourself, oh, I've done that before. And that's it. And in that, just that simple gesture, you find common ground. You're interrupting all of those judgmental thoughts. You're interrupting all the ways that you're thinking about defending yourself with that person. And maybe, whatever they're doing, they're arrogant, they're greedy, they're critical, whatever it is. You were that at one point in your life. You might have been that this morning. You might be that tomorrow. Let's just find a little common ground and soften. That'll get you to the real game changer, which is, and I know a lot of people listening can get down with this theory, which is, it's all a reflection. And so it doesn't mean, you hear this a lot in our space about, especially with women dating narcissistic men. So there's this conversation that's been going on for a long time. It's like, I'm empathic, I'm sensitive, and I attract narcissists because narcissists love to feed off of sensitive people. And that is actually, Psych 101, true. That is true. Narcissists love to pair with people who will do all the feeling for them. But what happens is, in that perspective, we don't look at that other person and go, well, maybe I'm a little bit narcissistic. Like, how is that person across from you reflecting you? They could be the most closed-minded, stubborn, not progressive whatsoever person. And maybe you are a lot more mature and enlightened. But there is a seed, I would call it like a seed frequency of that energy that's in front of you, inside of you. And if you really want to get it right, if you really want to expand, you got to say, okay, this is where I'm a little bit narcissistic. This is where I'm a little bit shut down. Person in front of you may be so narcissistic and so shut down, but you just take responsibility for your little 10%. And you walk through life going, okay, how is this a reflection of me? That's the game changer.
As I was reading it over the weekend, I just kept thinking to myself, this is like a crash course in not crashing. And also like what to do when you are crashing or not to do, as the case.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. It's a crash course and not crashing.
It just felt like, I was excited to read because it was a new piece of thought from somebody that I think is awesome. You and a lot of my friends think is awesome. And it hit harder than I expected it to. And I definitely I feel like for, anyone who's listening who wants a radical perspective shift, sounds gentle. You have a very reassuring delivery, but when you live
Mhm.
it and you talk about this in your book, it's actually really hard. It's
Mhm.
really, it creates a lot of challenge, I think, to do that thing of taking responsibility for that piece of you in the reflection that is showing. And
Mhm.
taking responsibility doesn't mean, I don't know, going to all of your, whatever your defense mechanisms are, radical indignation, calling a friend, blame, anger, all of that, to be in love and in acceptance. I'm learning from reading your book.
But this, the level is, yes, it's about acceptance and forgiveness of others, totally. But the power move is you get loving with all those parts of yourself. So, we're good humans. People are good. People are love. So when we are not forgiving and we got the grudges and all of that heavy stuff, we immediately judge ourselves for it. So it's like we're judging the other person and then we judge ourselves for being judgy. And that just creates this big energy block. And what I'm proposing is that you love your judgmental nature. And then your own judgmental nature or your obsessiveness or your neuroses or your neediness or whatever your thing is, all your little addictions, they just start to relax a bit. And that's the hard work. It's actually kind of easy to forgive people if you really just let yourself do it. I think it's actually forgiving is our default. My experience is I have let myself get talked out of forgiving before. Like I was in this car accident once. It was clearly the other guy's fault. And he was so sweet about it. And I just thought, it's okay. I'm okay. My car was totaled, but I was okay. I walked away. It was amazing. And I just wanted to just let it be. And he didn't want his insurance rates to go up and all those things that happen. And I said to the person I was with, and I said to some friends, like, I'm just going to let this be. I just want to just forgive and literally walk away from this. And I didn't stay in my heart. I let everybody say, no, listen, you got to go through insurance. You got to do this the right way. This guy, this could make you lots of money. And I still regret not letting that go. But what it taught me was that my natural inclination is to forgive. And I think I'm betting on that being a universal truth. It just, the mind comes in and we get into this whole BS story about accountability. And it's just a slippery slope to grievance and not getting over things.
I love that. And I think about when hearing about you handling things, it makes me think about your routine and like how I want to know how you live it, because
Mm.
this is something that you teach in your book. You have, I read like 400 workshop groups all over the world. There's something that you're putting
Mm.
into practice in people's lives actively. They're called, remind me the name of
So
your.
we have this program. It's called Heart-Centered Leadership Program. So
Yes.
we've got these coaches and facilitators and yoga teachers and HR directors who have this curriculum. So I've created all these conversation starters and workshops to use in all these different places or your one-on-one coaching. And it's really about virtue and resilience. Super cool stuff, fun stuff. And yeah, it's 400, mostly women, some really cool men in 30 plus countries doing this work. It's all available at daniellelaporte.com/leadership. Yeah.
Love sharing resources. So like, so what is your routine like? You live
Mm,
this. Talk to
yeah.
me. You wake up, what happens? When, how, what do we eat? What are we doing?
Okay. I'll give you the day routine and then I'll give you the inner routine. So the day routine is always meditate in the morning. And I break my own rule lots and I check my phone, especially right now, in like book launch mode and all the stuff that's happening. But on a good day, when I take a few breaths before I get out of bed. I don't check my phone until after I meditate. I have one meditation practice that I've been working with for about 9 months now. And that's my new routine. I used to be like, I'm going to try this and this and this, and 20 minutes here and an hour there and 10 minutes here. And it's like, no, one practice, 20 to 30 minutes. I often do it walking in the woods. I live in Vancouver, so I'm by the ocean. I'm by this beautiful park. And I love being outside to meditate and move and really work with the elements and really kind of pour my heart into nature. I'm officially, like, as of this week, bag intermittent fasting. I tried it and I wanted to die. And I'm just like, you know what? This is my philosophy on food. I'm going to feed myself like I used to feed my child. I still feed my child. He's like almost a man now, but it's like 3 times a day, good food, small amounts, lovingly. That's it. I'm going to eat like I love myself. There's no starvation, no, none of that anymore. So there's that. And then I cannot wait to get going. So right now it's a lot of podcasting. I have my own podcast with Danielle. This is what I love to do, is talk about conversations around consciousness and self-acceptance. I don't read much self-help anymore. I'm really on a self-help diet. I found that ingesting so much stuff, especially, the metaphysical, esoteric stuff, it was actually causing me a lot of anxiety because it was feeling like my tools weren't sharp enough. It was one more practice to learn. Am I pure of heart enough? So I've taken a pause on that. And then there's some different days of the week. There's some sweating involved. There's a gym involved. There's some yoga involved. I've basically designed my living room in my apartment. I haven't been here for too long, but I was like, I want it to feel like a yoga studio. So everything is low to the ground. There's always a yoga mat out in the dining room. I got one that blends with my hardwood floors because they all got to be like quiet. And then there's lots of friendship. But the interior stuff, which is what makes all the difference, is there's a lot of gratitude, as just now it's a default practice for me. And really refining this practice of choosing loving thoughts, which is really sort of the diamond of how to be loving. So like every heavy, negative, divisive, I'm not good enough, you're not good enough thought that comes up, I try to not get judgy about having it, but I try and swoop in right away with a higher vibration thought that I can believe. And that is the difference between struggle and happiness.
I mean, that's a power move, is to treat your thoughts before you treat a situation.
Oh, you got a lot of great isms. Yeah, I love it. Yes, treat the thought before the situation.
Just I just read your book, so I'm full of it right now.
You're like a hashtag generator.
What's your 5-minute move? Like, if you're like, I have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of like my day, it's all going down. What's your go-to for your quick fix?
Yes. Box breathing. So 4 counts, inhale, hold it for 4 counts, 4, exhale, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat. And if I can just do 3 cycles of that, I'm good. This is really important, focus on your heart center. So you really get into that warmth of the heart chakra and you just breathe. You get present and you're doing all sorts of things like on a meta level. It's really the heart center where the intelligence is. All the intelligence, everything you need is in the present. The breath brings you to presence. The breath brings you to love. And it helps regulate both your central and your parasympathetic nervous system. And really, that's what all of life should be about right now for everybody on the planet. You just do what you need to do to regulate and nourish your nervous system. You want to change the world? nourish your nervous system. You want better relationships, more intimacy, more prosperity, a better butt, better skin. You want to feel closer to life source itself. You just focus on loving your nervous system.
I just had to box breathe the other day. I
Mhm.
was out. I like to go surfing. We live by the beach here, and I paddle out, and the waves were like way bigger than I thought they were. And I realized I was like redlining, and I couldn't really figure out why, but like full fight or flight in my free time. This is supposed to be fun. And I thought, this is a breath issue, and tried that, which is not something that I'm usually like doing, is like regulated breath during the day. And man, it turned everything around. It was just,
Mhm.
it's really incredible to take control of your body, to take control of your mind and your heart and your blood pressure and like whatever is going
Yeah,
down.
you want to think clearly, breathe intentionally.
Mhm.
That's it.
I wrote this down. You wrote in your chapter on light and shadow, all relationships are yoga.
Mhm.
And that stood out for me because that's a lot of what we do here. Can we talk about
Mhm.
that?
Mhm. Well, yoga, union, but I look at every relationship, whether it's like with your person or your boss or just, someone you meet in a cafe. Every exchange is an opportunity for healing. And what's healing? Healing, let's just back up. What's healing? Healing is you becoming aware of who you really are. Healing is you realizing, okay, I'm not just my body. I'm not someone's daughter. I'm not someone's partner. I'm not a podcaster. I am this energy being having this human experience. I mean, this is Ram Dass stuff, right? You are a spiritual being having a human experience. And every relationship will teach you that, because in every single relationship, you are going to have to be more than just your body, your role, your job. You are going to have to be loving. Love is an energy. You're going to have to be forgiving and compassionate and resilient. That's all energy. And that is the stuff that you're made of. So, all the triggering, this is like such a popular term for good reason, but us getting triggered, whether it's someone cutting us off in traffic or, how our ex ghosted us, whatever it is, the pain that gets triggered is just something in your subconscious coming up to say, hey, will you pay attention to me? It's not that you're weak. It's not that you're a loser. It's not that you're unevolved. It's just something you've been carrying around this life saying, oh, hey, that hurt. When the trigger is, I felt angry, I felt hurt, I felt abandoned, I felt neglected, whatever it is, I felt guilty. So all of that is kind of in your basement. And it's just knocking on the basement to say, hey, I just want you to pay attention to me. Hello, I am pain. Can you please give me some love? And that is how you heal. That's how you become more whole. That's how you get it together. You love the stuff that's hurting you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think circling, that's really beautiful. And circling back to what you said about yoga being union and the oneness, I think we, this being in the soup together, of the all being, the same, we're the same. Like you
Yeah.
said, all people are the same. And that's a takeaway from yoga. And the meaning of yoga is the oneness and the union, and our
Mhm.
time together, our relationships are that. I'm understanding what you said now. That's a great explanation.
And the essence of yoga, ahimsa, to do no harm, and seva, selfless service. And I think, what I see happening in the personal development space is that we're over focused on what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And again, that's developmental. Like, yes, create a life that feels good, figure out how you want to feel. Yeah. And yes, have boundaries, figure out what respect looks like and feels to you. And then go further, expand, like give someone a break, man. Just,
Mhm.
like it's okay. It's okay that they don't speak to you the way you want to be spoken to. They're unhealed. They're doing their work. How about you help them heal by you being a loving place for them to land? How about you loving them anyway, even though they don't have it together? That's what's going to transmute them. And that is what is going to make you more powerful. Love is how you get stronger. Forgiveness is how you become empowered. And, forgiveness is the baller move, really. Really.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we don't always all agree with each other.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like we are confronted a lot with differences right now.
Yeah.
And
more than ever.
More than ever. And you write about it in such an exceptionally interesting way. Can we talk about that a little bit? How do we handle being different, our differences?
Well, first, you got to wake up to the system and realize that everything right now is designed for division, because division creates a lot of profit and also feeds a lot of ego. So whether you're arguing about medical choices of a nationality or the queen or whatever it is, like everything that's being touted in front of us is just like it's being dropped into the middle of this boxing ring. So don't take the bait. Like, this is all designed to divide. Stop, pull back, look at the bigger picture. So there's that. You can't love somebody, you can't soften unless you see them in you. This goes back to part of our conversation about reflection. So there's that, reflection being the power move. Like, where are you tyrannical? Where are you uptight? Where are you doing what you're judging in everybody else? But the other move is, one, realize we all come from the same source. Wherever it is, it got us all here, and it's keeping us all alive, the universal intelligence, and then to just celebrate that everybody has free will. You get to think whatever you want to think. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that powerful and miraculous? Guess what? Everybody else has that same power. And if you can't agree with them, just celebrate the fact that they are using their own mind, that they are walking their own path. That is amazing. That is amazing that they're using their own agency. You might not like how they're using it, but they're speaking, they're thinking. So I think there's a couple levels here. One, we tolerate everybody else. Tolerance is better than intolerance. That's cool. Next, we can actually accept. So acceptance is like, we embrace what we've been pushing away. Like, okay, I'm going to lean into this conversation. I'm going to try and figure out, why do you think that way? That's interesting. What could we have in common? Is there a reason that I could actually get on board with respecting you? And my experience is, doesn't matter how in opposition I am to somebody else's opinions or belief system, we can find something that we have in common. We want our children to be well. We want to be free. We want to clean up the oceans, whatever it is. But there's something beyond that, which is what I'm most interested in, which is reverence. And so I'm going to celebrate. I'm actually going to have respect, reverence, some awe for the fact that, like, you're doing your thing. That's amazing. And I'm going to have reverence that I'm doing my thing. I'm thinking about things. I'm feeling things. I'm planning things. I want to leave the world a better place. That's pretty awesome. And then you're going to do what you're going to do. What can I do?
Okay, that's landing. This is so powerful. That's good medicine for right now, for being in the world, is what goes beyond acceptance, what goes beyond tolerance into acceptance, and then into like working with the energies that are around you instead of.
Yes. And this gets into a conversation about social justice, because someone's going to be thinking, should we be allowing this to go on? And what about all the inequalities and the inequities and all of that? And there are things to fight for. And there is a holy anger to have, for sure. And there is so much to be voiced. But we have to do it from a place where I am standing up for what's right on behalf of what's right for everybody, not just my community, not just my self-interest, not just what's going to benefit my culture or my code or my corporation, but I'm going to stand up and say, all children should be treated this way. All human beings should have this kind of privilege, this benefit. And we have to do that with the intention to not cause harm. So I don't think angry activism is the solution. I think loving activism is the solution. Activism that's really inclusive. So we're never taking shots at the person themselves. We're taking shots at the policy. But even more than that, we are focusing on how we want things to be. And this works for your own life. Like, stop focusing on what's going wrong. Look at it. Look at it, see it really clearly, take responsibility for it. Don't over-identify it. Don't give it too much of your time. Just give it 20% of your time. And then give 80% of your time to celebrating what's working and to what you really want to be. This is really basic in relationship therapy, by the way. I mean, every couples counseling session I've had, the best ones where you start off with, you shrink going, so what's working? And it changes everything.
Danielle, you have so much to share, and you have chosen to spend your life sharing. How did this happen for you? How did you become Danielle LaPorte, best-selling author, person who knows things that we all need to learn? How do you feel comfortable sharing it? I'd love to hear about your path a little bit.
Super normal. Like, I used to always want a near-death experience so I could say, I saw the light and I came back with information for everybody. It's also great branding when you had an enlightenment experience. But I'm just like putting one foot in front of the other. I'm super committed to love. I mean, I think that's the sauce. Like, I'm showing up and I'm doing my stuff. I'm trying to have courageous conversations. I show up and I meditate. I work daily on forgiving myself and reverence for all my shadowy stuff that is hard to look at. That's it. And I've been super blessed with great teachers. I mean, you don't get any degree of wisdom alone. Everybody's got a counsel at some point in their life. And it might be just a girlfriend, or it could be a spiritual director. It could be a yoga teacher. And they give you the right nugget at the right time. You go, oh, I'm so ready to hear that. Yeah.
I feel like you are a constant student, and maybe that's who makes the best teachers. Would you advise to our listener friends out there at the Mindful podcast land to be constant learners?
Yes. Like, one of the hallmarks of, the sage is, they just say, like, the more I learn, like, the less I know. I think it becomes more about just being. Like, for me at this point in my life, I feel like simplicity is my spiritual practice. I want to go deep. I want less stuff. I want less dogma, fewer books. I want to have relationships with teachers. Like, I want to feel peer to peer, heart to heart with the deep thinkers, with the deep feelers. I want to, you know what it is? I just simplify this. I want to find the beauty in everything. And that's how you keep beginner's mind, as the Buddhists would say. It's like, always be finding the beauty. What's the good that came out of that? What's the sweet thing about that guy at work that's driving you crazy? And that's what keeps you gentle. And gentleness it's the medicine we need the most right now.
That's beautiful. I think we can say thank you to you, from me, from all of us at Alo, from the Mindful community. Danielle, it's been a treat being with you. And anyone who wants to dig deeper, How to Be Loving, October 11th is something you can look to. And we'll keep watching your podcast and your Instagram and sharing this adventure with you. Thank you.
Oh, this was so fun. Thank you. Thank you.
So fun. Thank you, Danielle.